Hello and welcome. I am Bigfoot, and this is episode 11 of my Let's Play series. So, end of the last episode, I had built my block for the engines and my rocket control units. What I need to do now is some modules. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to build the speed module, and then I'm going to start thinking about, well, firstly demolishing this and rebuilding it so I've got the bus in the right place. But then also building some of the concrete stuff so that I can start thinking about how this is going to level out. That's what's on my mind at the moment. So first up, speed module. Okay, so this is the system I've ended up with. I don't know whether I'm going to stick with it for the forever, but for the time being, this is what I'm thinking. So here we have the speed module. So this is going to feed rocket control unit and assembly machine. I'm pretty sure there was something else that needs speed module, but I can't think of what it is. So that's what this block is going to do. And this block is going to make speed modules. So it's going to make, so the first bank is for the first speed module, then that's going to feed into the second one, and then the third one's going to feed at the end. So I'm kind of doubling up on processes. There is a part of me that wants to feed these speed modules up as well and into here and get rid of all of this. But I am going to make the green and the red modules, and those blocks are going to be exactly the same as this. So I really just want to have three of them side by side, or at least three identical blocks, because side by side I'm not really sure at the moment. So I need to make a whole load of stuff over here. Don't know how much, and I've still got a whole load of stuff to do over here as well. I've got turrets and robots and armor and stuff. There's still a lot to do. I just don't know how it's going to pan out. So if I build three more of these, I'm going to be right up here, and that's a lot of space to fill. I don't know about these modules. I'm not a big fan of them, but I do generally create them because you don't know whether you won't need them or not. And seeing as, well, I may as well make them. This is the point to decide. Let's put them in the factory anyway. Even if I don't need them in the fullness of time, I'm still going to make them. I know that Spidertron needs, I think, the third version of the green module. I'm sure there's some other things. I know that these modules, they're needed in various places. So I'm going to make them anyway, but I don't know where they're going to go. So I've just made the first one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out the camera and then start getting on with the stone and seeing how that works out. What I might end up doing is either increasing this to 10, so I've got an extra 2 assembly machine either side of the bus and making it bigger, or I could make it smaller. I don't really care about the modules. The numbers in here don't really work perfectly. I've just popped something in the space that will produce them at a rate, not a huge rate, but just a rate. So the number of the assembly machines isn't perfect, so I don't really care about them. I just need a few. So I can play around with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with the size of this block and the other two to fill whatever space I need to, because I don't know. So I've just built something to give me an idea of how big it's going to be, so that I can plan for it if that's what I choose to do. Wherever I put it, wherever I choose to put it. There's a part of me that's thinking of putting somewhere over here, but these are wider blocks, and I just, too much thinking. What I need to do is go over here. This is what I can do. There are some points in this build process where I have a hard decision to make, like here, right now, and I don't really want to make it right here and right now because I'm not ready for it. I will be much readier for it once I've built more stuff over on this side and I know what is left. So I need to kind of build either side at the same time. So I need to zoom the camera out because the camera at the moment is only focused on this particular part of the factory. In fact, I've just eaten up the last part of the space. So I need to zoom out and capture both sides of the factory so I can build up both of these sides in tandem and get this line perfect. And so that's my strategy. I'm going to play around with this block and the other module blocks to get it right. Don't really care about them. Yeah, so I need to zoom the camera out. Okay, camera is moved out. I've rebuilt this. Um, rebuilt all of this. Mostly happy with it. I'm just thinking about stone. And stone has always been a bit of an awkward little blighter in my opinion. And the reason is because in order to process a full belt of 45 stone, we need 36 furnaces. And 36 might immediately appear like it's a nice number, but it's not. And or at least not for the my standard widget, which you probably is a combination of this. So it's yeah. So that's my standard widget. The problem is that this has 4 outputs. So in order for it to work elegantly, I need 4 lanes of input. And 4 lanes of input would be 8 rows. And 36 is not divisible by 8. This is a problem I've had before. Well, it's not really a problem. I've just rounded it up. I've just made it. What have I normally done? I think I've done 40 instead of 36. But I'm trying out some new things. So my thinking is if I join 2 of these stone belts together in an elegant way, then I'm back up to 72, and that might work out a lot more elegantly. So this was my first thinking, to join 2 of these, two of my standard widgets together. But that still creates exactly the same problem, because now I've got 8 outputs, 72. Still, it's exactly the same awkwardness as is caused by my standard widget. It isn't. I need, because this is now dealing with twice the amount of furnaces. This is dealing with half the amount of furnaces. I've got twice the amount of inputs. I'm just multiplying my problem by doing it this way. So that's where this one comes in. So this is essentially the same as this, just turned sideways. And now I've only got 4 belt outputs, which means that I can have rows of 9. 9 times 4 is 36. So 4 rows of 9 either side. So I would see that as a successful joining of the 2 belts of stone. I like this. This might be my new stone mixing widget. I like it. So here is my thinking. There's my 72 furnaces and my widget in the middle, as always. And I'm really happy with it. I think that's brilliant. The reason why I wanted to build it, and it's kind of in no man's land at the moment, the time lapse has been off, this is off the clock, because I wanted to know how big it was. So the width of it is 42, I think. Let me just make sure. 42. Okay. So there's a hard limit on the distance that these blocks can occupy because of the limit on the roboports, and that limit is 46. So that would mean that I've got 4 tiles spare. I usually leave the bottom 2, so that would leave me 2 tiles spare. And if I arranged it vertically, so if it's rotated it around 90 degrees and tried to feed in the inputs, I'm going to run out of space to get all of them in and out. Because they're going to occupy that space over here. So I was just thinking, do I lay them out horizontally like this? So I've measured this, and this is, let's do it again, 90 something. 94. So 2 times 42 is 84. That would leave 10 spaces. So 10 spaces is awkward. I could make it work, I suppose. Just there's a bit more gaps than I would have liked. Anyway, this is the block that I'm going to build. How I'm going to orientate it, I need to figure out. And then we have stone block. So originally I had the output belts going down the middle because I've got this two tile gap, which looks quite useful. Nice elegant way to bring the output through. But seeing as that would have left all of this big gap, I've brought them all together and brought them up. Now originally I think I only intended to use 6 belts of stone and have 3 of these blocks, but you know, 4 works really well. And blocks, I'm going to need a lot of concrete. So why not have a few more blocks? That's not the end of the world. You know, sometimes it's just about having fun with this. It's not necessarily about getting everything perfect. So a couple of the things that I've tried to work out, like this is the science bus, and below the block below us, which was dealing with the wall and the ammunition and the yellow cable stuff down here, that bus stops being useful. So I can bring the stone in through here, and what that means is no matter what I do with this train station, I'm probably gonna. That means I can do what I've done down here, which is to feed the outputs up and across. So I'll do the same again. I'll feed the outputs up and across and bring them down. So whatever I do with this train station, this setup will work. So that makes me happy. I've also drawn in these railway lines up here, which that's probably not where it's going to go, but what I've done is I've measured out the gap between these railway lines here, and then I've put these railway lines about the same, well, not necessarily, from about the bottom of here, which is the racetrack. So I didn't want it to impinge on the racetrack. So from about bottom about here to here, it's about the same from here to here. So this can probably move up or down a little bit depending on how it works out, or at least when I drew it, which was when I was down here, I didn't know what was going to happen. So now that I've drawn it, what it looks like is going to happen is I can fit a block in here and move it up 2 or 3, and that just gives me a bit more space for my stone station, which, you know, I can make that work. That's pretty straightforward. So I've just drawn it in there because I wanted to know roughly where it needed to go, and I didn't want to forget about it. I didn't want to crack on with building and just forget that I needed a railway in here somewhere. So that railway line's also going to need to carry on all the way through, which automatically looks like it's going to be in an awkward place. But I have ways around this. We'll see when we get there. Okay. So what I need now is concrete, reinforced concrete. I'm going to need some sort of water barrels, water barrel output, so I can get some water into it. And one other thing, just before I crack on with the building, was that I've forgotten something in my main bus, and it was the thing I always forget. It was the thing I said I was going to forget, and it's iron ore. I completely forgot to leave a space for iron ore in my bus. It's no problem, obviously, because I've got plenty of space in it, but it's just annoying that I forgot again. Anyway, so concrete. So I've got 2 choices about where I put this railway line. My first instinct was to do it this way. I mean, the problem is that this is an even number, and that makes it awkward. It would be much easier if it was an odd number, but it's not. And I've looked for gaps that I could use, and there are none. So, short of making a gap that I don't need or want, I've got these 2 choices to make this even number work. And I think this one on the right is better. This one on the left is awkward. See, I can't... This is the closest connection I can make between these 2 pipes. And that creates this 2 tile gap, which I don't like. By making it wider, I can bring this connection over to here, and then it'll work. So I think this one on the right is better, and I think it will allow me more space to bring in some inputs, which I will need, so, and outputs. So I'm going to redo this, make it this. That's what I'm going to do. I've got it sorted, but it's really, really a real bodge job. So actually didn't mention this is this is my unbarreling of the water. So this is going to take the full barrels and empty them out. And I generally, it's an awkward process. It's quite big and lumpy. So I generally try and do that stuff first. Because you don't need to pass the iron ore and the steel and the iron plate past it. It only needs to deal with the water and the barrels and the ins and the outs, and get that done first, and then I can build around that. So that's what this is dealing with. But the way I've solved the problem, or can I? Oh, I've just realised I can fix the problem. Okay, so the problem is that all of this is unloading onto this side of the belt, as will these two inserters unload to the far side, the northern side of the belt. The only thing loading to the south side of the belt are these two down here. I didn't think I could get this connection to work, but it looks like I can. Does that do it? Yeah, that does do it. Because this is a full belt, loaded either side. This will be a full belt loaded either side. That works, okay. And then I can still connect that into there. Alright, so maybe my bit of a spill is not necessary. I'm suddenly much happier about it. Oh, okay. So, one of these is going to be concrete, one of these is going to be reinforced concrete. I have a funny feeling this will be reinforced concrete, this will be concrete, because I might need a few extra belts in and out, and I can just move these. And I have a funny feeling this needs more, you need more assembly machines for the concrete than you do for the reinforced concrete. There's a slight imbalance, so that might work if that's what I need to do. I'm very happy about that, that's good. So now that I've got that railway line fixed on over for the concrete, I figured I'd come over to this other side of the jumble and see how it works out as a position here and whether I can get it to work elegantly. Ultimately, what I've come up against with the concrete is that I could do with a little bit more space, just 2 or 3 more tiles. So I figured if this needed to be a bit more if this justified moving the railway away a little bit further to make it work perfectly, then that's what I would do, and I'd get a little bit more space over on the other side so that I can use what I've drawn out on the map here. So imagine that this is not 8 wide; it's only 3 assembly machines wide. That is what this space is here. These are the 1 tile gaps. This would be the notional position of the electricity line. Another gap, another 25, then the tile, then the wall, then the railway. And this turns out to work out exactly where I've put it on the other side for concrete. So I don't achieve my extra tiles that I wanted. I could create the 2 tile gap that I want. I'll tell you what I'll do. Let's carry on building the concrete. Because what it is, there's one belt I need to fit in for reinforced concrete that I can't fit in, and that means that I need to remove a few assembly machines to be able to get it in. So there's only one problem at the moment. If I start routing other stuff into this area and I find that I need more space, then I'll move it out. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to carry on here, see how this pans out, and if I need more space, then I need more space. Simple as that. Right, so, ugh, this has been a complete pain. So I missed a few things from when I was setting this whole thing out, and I have ended up with, it's this 2 tile thing on the railway. So I've ended up with a gap with 1 tile, and I couldn't find a way of losing it without having to rebuild everything. So, also, as part of this learning, I've discovered what I've realised is that railways and furnaces need to be over on this side of the bus. This is where the stone is. This is where it's just going to be easier over on this side, and well, anyway, that's where I've decided to put it, regardless of the ins and the outs of whether it's the right decision or not. That's what I've decided. Obviously, I've got more space over here to fill than over here because, well, I've still got engines and electric engines, sorry, and some other bits and pieces to put up here. I've still got ammo and stuff to put over here. But regardless, I've got it in a place. I've got the railway line in a nice place that I'm happy with. I think I'm not. I don't want to move it anyway. And it's probably worthwhile saying the line that I'm worrying about between this and my steel furnaces, my stone steam furnaces. That's not what this line is. This is just another line. Essentially, because this whole shopping mall has turned out much bigger than I thought it was going to be. I need another line across. And I thought this was going to be the line, but it turns out not to be it. I need, like, I don't know what, 2 or 3 more slices on this side, maybe 2 slices over here before I can get to that line. This is just another line that I needed to deal with. Okay, and I've also filled in the bus, or at least tried to. It's difficult to really know where stuff's going to go. Oh, I'm still dealing with variables to a certain extent. Anyway, I've made a long list of all the things I need to make. Another list to add to my list of lists. I need to do railways and furnaces. So this is my modern, most up-to-date iteration of the railway line. In order to get it to work, in order to guarantee that it works at the proper flow rates, I need, well, I went through this in my sexy block. So it's just a case of making sure that every belt can be accessed via a blue inserter. Now there are other ways of doing it, but this seems to be my go-to way nowadays. I also like to mix in the iron bars as well. So the iron comes in, that feeds the iron bars, that gets put on the belt, and that feeds the 4 assembly machines that make the rail. In terms of numbers, what the numbers told me was that I needed 12 assembly machines for railways, but considering how deep into this bus I am, not the bus, this shopping mall, I'm kind of losing my patience a little bit with the accuracy of the numbers. This will do the job. Fits the space. 12 is a difficult number to. That's not it. That's how I've got it to work. So furnaces. In fact, what have I got furnaces up here? Okay, so I've got my lines sorted. I'm happy. I've got this zone, this shopping mall zone. I'm happy. Fixed. I'm not going to change it anymore. Over here we've got all of the armor stuff. So fusion cells, exoskeletons, spidertrons. I mean, you name it. It's been a real. This is always a pain. It's always a pain to build because all of the processes are just so fiddly. Now, my normal basis, what I generally do is I have a list of stuff that I need to build, and then I have a list of stuff that I want to build, and then I have a list of stuff that would be nice to have, nice to build. And then I just work through that list until I run out of space. But with something like this, where I'm trying to do everything, you just reach a point where you've done everything. There's no more things to make, and that's what I've reached at this point. Oh, I've just noticed solar panel and accumulator I've not done. I've got space on the other side, that's fine, I can deal with it over there. So the goal, what I try and achieve here, is to try and double up processes. So although there's 4 assembly machines, and in general I tie all of those together, and these I haven't done it for this lot. So just to give you an example, these are the lasers. So the lasers come out and they feed into here. So these are personal laser and discharge defense, I think. Personal laser, yeah, discharge defense. So because they use the laser, and I wanted to get that out of the way, and they use similar ingredients, I've kind of put them back to back. Similarly with night vision and belt immunity, they use the same ingredients, so why not deal with it in the same place? Another good example would be, I think it's this one here. Yeah, my artillery targeting. So that needs low density structure and radar, and so does the Spidertron. So that's what's going to go over here, is a spider. So this is my radar and this is low density structure. So by doubling them up and matching the ingredients, what I actually did was write down all of the things that were going to go in this block, what ingredients they needed, so that I could match them together, so that I could use the space efficiently. I think I've achieved that. I mean, you notice that I ran out of things to make, although I have just noticed solar panels and accumulators. This was. So what I've decided to do is run the racetrack around here and have a fancy corner. So that's what it's going to do. It's going to follow the line of the assembly machines around this corner. The racetrack also helps me match up what I've got on the other side, because this ended up being a lot bigger. So this ended up being a bit smaller. So that's what I mean. I've got space over here I can still use for accumulating solar panels and stuff. That's not a big deal. Shouldn't be a big deal. So yeah, having the racetrack just helped me just lose a bit more space, just to help to match things up. So I've got this line sorted. I'm happy. I'm gonna stop here. Although I've got space, I've still got things to do in this shopping mall. I've had enough of it. I want to move on. So I want to start moving on and looking at steam turbines, coal. I need some railway stations for that. That's what I want to do. And yeah, that's next on the list. However, that's probably enough for today's episode. So I hope it's been enjoyable. Till next time.